Good evening. Welcome to another edition, the night after edition of the Klown Hour podcast. I'm Scott Burks. I'll explain why later in a minute. I'm Scott Burks, your host, co-host with Dwayne Nash. Please check him out on The Yard, /HBCU Sports for basketball, all things HBCU Sports, as well as SLZE, aka Sleazy Radio, every Tuesday night on Facebook Live with him, Coach, and this crew. Check them out there. You'll be infotained, you'll laugh, and you will not cry, I promise. But anyway, maybe
I don't know. Coach might make you cry.
I
don't know. Coach might make you cry. He might make you cry in a couple of weeks when we talk the NFL East. Especially if you're not an Eagles fan, but
oh my. Well, Cowboys will make anybody cry and laugh. So that's
man, let's not even go there with them.
Yeah. On that note, also HeroSports.com. That's where Dwayne also writes all things FCS athletics as pertains to HBCUs. So check this work out as well. As for me, you see the website Klown Times, www.theklowntimes.net. It's the sports blog that is. And check me out as well on Facebook as well. We're on your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever it may be. Just type it in the search window. You'll find me there as well. And two more things. Subscribe. Picked up some more subscribers over last night, especially with all this talk about previewing like college football conferences, like upcoming season and damn near Alliance. So we'll get to Alliance tonight. A lot of feedback there. So anyway, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button besides so you get notifications of when we will publish videos. And one more thing, you see what we're doing. We're wearing some merch.
Get the merch.
CafePress.com, search for the Klown Time Sports. You're able to find it there as well. And I will have the link in the description when I upload this bad boy to YouTube tomorrow morning, so you'll find it there as well. So we talked about the ACC preview last night. And so what better way to follow that up with some SEC preview. So anyway, I brought back my man, my college buddy. Y'all know him, AKA the mouth of the South. Cedric Cole's in the house. What's up, Ced? How you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
All right.
Man, not much.
Yeah, I see you sporting the Alabama's gear. So let's just get to it. Let's just stop bullshitting and get to it. You know about the Alliance, right? I'm dying. I was dying to get your feedback because we talked about the Alliance last night because I had some ACC bloggers on my show last night, some buddies of mine. And you know what it is, right? So basically, in case anyone who's been living under a damn rock, the ACC, the BigTen, and the Pac-12 have come together to make this alliance. Nothing set in stone. No contracts or anything to talk about. They talked about what? Damn, like let's call them like-minded conferences academically and all that good stuff. Talk about scheduling, which probably won't take place for another few years because the scheduling agreements are also already in place for the next 5 years. You know how it is college football.
Right.
So we won't see the real fruits of it for another 5 years. My thing is, and Brian McFadden from Florida State brought this up on ACC radio on Sirius XM. He called it a hood agreement because nothing was signed. It was a handshake. Not even a handshake because everyone met on Zoom.
It was a virtual handshake.
A virtual handshake. Jim Phillips from the ACC, commissioner from the ACC, said that we looked each other in the eyes and agreed upon stuff. So Brian McFadden from Florida State and former Pittsburgh Steeler called a hood agreement because it's like there's nothing says, no contracts. It's like, you put on each other's word. But the minute that the alliance dropped, it made it official Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday afternoon. As soon as it made it drop, I thought about two people. I thought about Paul Feinbaum and this brother to my left. I thought about those two cats.
That's a very interesting dynamic, right? Because I actually watched a little bit of Feinbaum's comments about this alignment. Well, not alignment. I'm sorry. This
alliance.
Alliance. Yes, yeah. And he doesn't seem too positive about it.
He called it embarrassment.
I have similar thoughts about it, but I can't wait to hear what Cedric has to say
about
it.
So let's just get to it.
First thing is, what what do they hope to accomplish with this alliance?
Wait a minute. Before we go further, because this is what the quote that was given.
Okay.
Let me see. Okay, it says that. Okay, all right. The alliance was made. Okay, ultimately, the aim is to stabilize a volatile environment throughout college athletics by collaborating on weighty issues facing the industry and agreeing to create a future scheduling partnership. But they actually had, in quotation marks, stabilize a volatile environment. What is so volatile about what's going on currently? Like I said before, this thing hasn't even played out yet. They just shook already.
Right.
And if you scared, go to church.
I mean, here's the thing. When the SEC went and grabbed Texas and Oklahoma.
Yes.
Tell me, what other two schools could they have grabbed that would have to me would have been just as prestigious or just as made the type of impact that grabbing Oklahoma and Texas would have grabbed? I'll wait.
You know what? I'll truthfully say probably Notre Dame.
Maybe, you know.
No, I'm saying realistically, I can't think of one.
Right. Other than, I mean, you could probably say Ohio State, Clemson, maybe, because of the trajectory they're on. But I don't know that would have
realistic though.
But no, one, not realistic, and then two, you got to think about Texas. The fact that now, we had A&M in the conference. Now we have Texas in the conference. That pretty much sews up the whole state of Texas in terms of recruiting.
Yeah, correct.
So what other, Ohio State is a great, it's a great football state. But when you look at, there's no way, obviously Texas and Oklahoma being joined at the hip for the most part, there's no, there's having them both. I just don't see anyone being able to, another conference being able to take two schools and pull them in and say, hey, now we've grabbed these two schools and we set ourselves apart from the rest of the country. And
I want to touch on that too, what you just said, because we alluded to it last night. It's like, what are your options?
Right.
What are your, okay, if you're the Pac-12, they talked about expansion, right? And obviously you guys heard it came down the pipe that they voted for expansion. I mean, because look what's out there. Are you going to counter what the big bad, the evil empire, if you will, the SEC? You're going to counter Oklahoma or Texas, what they did with them, with Oklahoma State and Texas Tech?
No.
Are you serious? Because all this talk about the Pac-12 wanted to get into the Southwest, and by that I mean Texas, right?
Right.
You think that, I mean, to your point, I mean, Lubbock, Texas, as a market, Stillwater, Oklahoma, as a market. I mean, the Texas. I mean, let's just break this down. We mentioned this before. We talked about the SWAC. It's all about branding. You get the brands, you get the juice.
Yeah.
With the SEC now, we could agree that Oklahoma is a brand, right? In college football, we know Texas is a brand.
Yeah.
We know Alabama. To go over Alabama is a brand. Georgia's a brand. Some people say Florida's a brand. That's 5 right there. Some people say, say this, Cedric. Some people may say that Auburn may be a brand in college football.
In Lee County, Alabama, they will.
I can't wait to get to the preview. I think that alone is pay-per-view. But anyway, the point is, and LSU, people think LSU is a brand. So, but the point is, let's take away Auburn for instance. If you just keep LSU, that's 6 brands.
Yeah,
that's 6 brands. And there's an interesting write-up right quick, and I'll let you guys elaborate on this. In The Athletic, around the time when the news came down about Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. And actually, I take it back, when the alliance was announced, they're talking about the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the ACC wanted to have more of the 4 million club. The 4 million club being the 4 million, the amount of viewers from games. So they broke down how many teams have participated in 4 million and then the 4 million video club games.
Well, so you said video, right?
Viewership in terms of viewership.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
That's
so
what I was
basically,
about to ask. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, I don't. It's you guys should search for it on the Athletic. But long story short, there are teams alone, i.e., Alabama, LSU, and I want to say Georgia, have more trips to the 4 million club than the conference, than the Big Ten and the ACC. Well, then the ACC and Pac-12 combined.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because the only team from the ACC in that club is Clemson.
Yeah.
For the past
I was going to
5
say
years.
because of the recent success
Right.
of everyone else in the ACC, I see that now.
Right,
Yeah.
for the past 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And so in the Pac-12, I think SC and Oregon are the two that been in the 4 million club.
Okay.
And in the Big Ten, Ohio State, obviously multiple times. Michigan, even though they're bad most of the time, and I think Wisconsin. So those are, again, brands. They have in common brands. If you're a brand, people will tune in. If you just no one's going to care. So so that was thought about that. But again, to your point said, and you touched upon this, Dwayne, Lisa, last couple of weeks, college football schedules are set years in advance. Out of conference schedules. So basically, like for example, this year Miami is hosting Michigan State. Okay, and of course Miami is going to get, unfortunately, dusted by Alabama week 1. But this goes to show you that those are set up years in advance, especially their home and homes.
Yeah.
So you won't see the true, if they're talking about schedule, if we won't see that for another 5 years, we just won't. But to me, and what's funny about it, Cedric, is that someone from that camp, from the Alliance camp, I want to say from the Pac-12, claimed that wasn't in retaliation to what the SEC did. Let's just be real. It was in retaliation to what the SEC did, right? Because if that's the case, if they're like-minded conferences, why not do this shit years ago?
Right.
Instead of trying to poach Maryland from the ACC and all that stuff. Why have that long time ago? So even though I know the Pac-12 and Big Ten been joined at the hip for a while anyway, but the point is, we know the deal.
Yeah, I mean, to your point right there, if this was something that was planned would have been planned years in advance, yeah, they wouldn't have had to have poached Maryland from the ACC. They just could have just made this gentleman's agreement and had them play within their round robin and scheduling. But like I told you before, as soon as I saw that quote of controlling that volatile, or stabilizing that volatile environment, when did this environment become volatile? Let me guess. Probably a couple of weeks ago, when that announcement was made that Texas and Oklahoma was leaving the Big 12. Is that when the environment got volatile? Because what has it been volatile? And again,
when I think of, but when you say volatile, what are they trying to say by using the word volatile?
Exactly, right?
Right. It's this whole, it's like propaganda, I think. It's like, okay, well, now it's volatile. Well, no, Alabama went and grabbed, the SEC went and grabbed Texas and Oklahoma. Nothing volatile about that. I mean, it's at that point, it's, like we say, church out.
Amen.
What other move is there to counter with?
Well, I'll tell you this: the only thing that could approach the side, I think it's huge. I think y'all getting Texas and Oklahoma, y'all got the biggest brands, 2 of the 3 biggest brands left. The other brand being Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, being Notre Dame. Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of which, that's the only chess move left, if you will. But
Yeah.
Notre Dame made it abundantly clear. They enjoy their independence.
Oh yeah.
Money be damned. They got plenty of it.
Yeah,
I've been to the campus when they beat the brakes off of NC State like 4 years ago, excuse me. One of the most beautiful campuses I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, they can pick and choose who they want to play. They can win and where, how they want it. You know, they have a brand that, I mean, that NBC contract. So,
Yes.
you know, why join a conference when you have that?
And especially if this expansion goes through, playoff expansion goes through, because it gives them access. Again, you know what I'm saying, like the top 6 conference champions, regardless of Power 5 or Group of 5, the top 6 ranked champions, conference champions, and 6 at-larges. And speaking of which was like Notre Dame is guaranteed at the very least a 5 seed. And they said that we don't have to play a home game. If we're not ranked above those other 6 conference champions, we're content going on the road. So either way, they got access. If they already have access, why join the conference?
But my question is this: what would be the seeding situation? Because my thought would be that the conference champions would get seeds 1 through 6, right?
Correct. Yes,
so if that's the case, their best case scenario is the 7th seed, which means that they're always going to be on the road. So that would be I guess the thing that would say, hey, well, maybe if we want a higher seed and we want to host a playoff game, that we need to go ahead and join a conference. But to the point earlier in terms of the get and what's better, what's not, the thing, and we've said this a million times, and I don't want to kick a dead horse again, but since it's already right there and my foot is right there, the main reason why it's such a big get for Texas is because of the amount of eyes that come on them, not because of the quality of football. Because if you're looking at the quality of football, then of course the likes of Ohio State, Clemson, maybe if the 2 Florida schools, Miami and Georgia, Florida State can get better, they could potentially be, but they don't have the eyes that Texas has, win, lose, or draw. So there's no way in the world you're going to be able to trump that. The closest thing you're going to be able to do that with is the Notre Dame.
And they ain't going anywhere.
Texas has that. It has that. You know, I look at Oklahoma. I look at the both of them, and obviously they bring 2 different things to the table. One, you know, Oklahoma has that. When you look at the last, 20 years, they've been really, really consistent, right? And then you look at Texas, and Texas they're Texas. They have that. They have a mystique about them. You know, they hadn't won anything in a while, obviously since Vince Young, but they did get to the championship game some years back. But it's Texas, which obviously that market in and of itself, you can't turn on the TV in the state of Texas anywhere and not pick up a Oklahoma or a Texas game.
Right.
So that's
what they're banking on. That's what
they're banking on. And then you're thinking about Oklahoma. Now you have the Oklahoma market. Well, you have the Dallas-Fort Worth market, right? Texas games, Oklahoma games. That's a big draw.
Yeah. And you mentioned Oklahoma, Texas, and this leads to a bigger conversation. And this is what we're talking about chess, right? The chess moves. Like with the SEC having those 2 brands to go to the other brands, and if this what the expansion will go through, the SEC could easily have probably 5 teams.
It's possible. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, and which basically, imagine this. Imagine if I call him a snitch. Imagine if that snitch in Houston from the Houston Chronicle did not leak the story of Oklahoma and Texas having huge influence with the SEC and vice versa. Imagine if that stayed in the dark, and because the expansion word on the street was if nothing would have happened, right? If everything was kept on the hush hush, it could have been voted on in favor of the 12-team playoff next month in September. Yeah. So imagine if the dude from the Houston Chronicle didn't let the cow out the bag and tell folks that Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC, and y'all would have had it's again chess. You guys would have more of the components. You guys in Notre Dame would have been like pretty much not calling the shots per se, but pretty much had your imprints, if you will, along with some of the group of 5 as well. But basically, I say all that to say this. I also think those 3 conferences SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12, I think they looked at what the SEC did and said, okay, we got to have a say on this. Even though the Big Ten and Pac-12 were reportedly on board with expansion, how the 12-team expansion. Now, what I think is going to happen is the ACC is undecided. Now, what I think is going to happen is they're going to just try to flex the three of those guys' conferences together. And if there's any expansion, I think it's going to be something like 8. I think they're going to try to mitigate as much as they could the SEC's influence, and do that ESPN's influence, because ESPN's going to buy out the CBS contract of the SEC. I think next year, Cedric, is that right, or this year?
I'm not sure when that's going to happen.
It's soon. It's pretty damn soon.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a
big move, because
that is
that 3 p.m. CBS spot, that has been
that's prime, bro.
That's prime. That's prime time for college football. And it's been, and typically the teams that, of course, I like it when we're in that spot, but big games, whether it be Auburn, Florida, LSU, those are, some of the more premier matchups in the conference are in that time slot.
Yes.
So that was a power move by ESPN to get that.
But I have to ask those, Cedric, this is more so of from I guess a marketeer place for me. The 3 o'clock spot is more coveted than, say, like a 7 o'clock spot for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, people will watch that, when you look at the matchups, the best matchups have always been that
3 p.m. spot.
That 3 p.m. spot. Unless, ESPN does, unless CBS pulls they have options sometimes to do where they'll do a double header. So it'll be two games. So it'll be 4 games. So it'll be, and then that later game gets pushed to like, 7, 8 o'clock. But yeah, that spot has always been, since CBS got the SEC, that has been a coveted spot to get in that 3 p.m. spot.
And they call it the game of the week.
Yeah.
They call it the game of the week.
And like I said, it's usually it's when just think about historically over the last 5-10 years, what games have been in that spot, in that time spot. The game where we played Johnny Manziel and they beat us, that was in that, in that spot. Games against LSU, whereas LSU lately they've been trying to push more to that to a night game, especially if they play us in Baton Rouge, but big games have been in that time slot. So yeah, that it's always been coveted to be in that 3 p.m. CBS, because it's even the first, CBS has the first dibs on what game for that week, and then ESPN gets their choice. So it's always the best matchup.
Makes sense. Yeah, because I'll say this, whenever I'm out doing coverage of the game and I'm in the box or whatever, that TV is always on SEC, always.
Yeah.
And, because of course that game starts at 3 with our game starting at 1, and that's that carryover. So everybody's always peeking and trying to figure out what's going on with that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm watching, but not consciously on a regular basis. And that's why I asked why that one was more coveted than the 7 o'clock spot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, of course, ESPN, they try to throw their major matchups at that time frame.
Yeah. And they, like I said, and it's, you would think a night game, obviously would have more, more draw. But when you think about the matchup itself, CBS has the pick of, this is the game we want for this week. And it's always the, and even they have a rolling, they call it something where it's a rolling schedule where they'll say, they may come out and say, okay, well, yeah, we're going to project this team to be in this, this ranking. So we're going to choose them versus, but it's always, we're talking about, 2 highly ranked teams that are always in that spot.
Right.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously that those matchups have been some historic, matchups over the years. So
Yeah, like Peyton Manning always getting beat by Steve Spurrier's Gators
oh
at a
yeah,
3 p.m.
oh yeah,
slot.
oh yeah, oh
I'm
yeah.
sorry for the shade, but I'm just going by memory. So, but anyway, getting back to it, it's like this is chess, and so now when after ESPN buys out the CBS contract,
Mm-hmm.
they got all that. They got the inventory. So what they also did was it took away to like Oklahoma and Texas from Fox because
You're right.
because Big 12, that's Fox land. Them, the Pac-12 and the Big 10. Those are Fox people. With a sprinkle in with a little bit of ESPN, but it's mainly Fox people. They're mainly Fox properties. So now you just
See, that's the funny part about that too, anyway, right?
Too. Yeah.
Disney owns them both.
Right.
Yeah.
They own them both. So if anybody's the real winner in this, it's Disney. Mickey Mouse is like this. I'm gonna let everybody think. Because like I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, wait a minute. So Fox is battling with CBS and ESPN for these games, but Disney bought Fox. So if anything, they're the winners. I mean, the move is probably to move everything over to ESPN eventually, probably, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I take that back because you can't put all of that programming on one network. They're going to have to keep it on another network insensibly. But yeah, I just need for people to stop thinking that these two networks are fighting. They're not. If anything, the conferences are probably looking to see what network will be a better fit for them. But yeah, those two networks ain't fighting over that.
I mean, because you got ABC, you got.
Mm-hmm.
You mean there are a lot of games out there, so obviously they want to, have them all, right?
Why not, right?
But you can only watch one game. I mean, you can watch more than one game at a time, obviously, but those
ESPN is short testing that threshold with us by putting out as much program as they can. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they put out as much programming as they can, obviously, but I mean, who's going to, if let's say you have a Alabama Oklahoma matchup on, let's say it's on ABC,
mm-hmm.
At a 3:00 slot. Well, what game are you going to have on 3:00 slot on ESPN or ESPN2? I mean, there are a lot of conference games to be had. Not everybody's going to turn in and watch the Oklahoma, matchup. Obviously, Oklahoma Alabama fans are gonna turn in to watch it, and they'll still pull in other viewers as well. But I don't think they're going to oversaturate themselves by pulling in the CBS, that CBS contract, that time slot. Because when you think about and I think it's 2024 is when it starts.
Okay.
So 2024 is when those games, will roll off CBS and move on to, ABC, ESPN, however you want to slice it.
Oh, just get ready. That means other games are going to get bumped to other days of the week. It's slowly starting to happen, fellas. I don't know if you've been paying attention. With the MAC moving over to Tuesdays, right. They've already put MEAC games on Thursdays. They starting to move them to Fridays. So get ready. We're going to start having football on about 4 to 5 days out of the week. Go ahead.
But for somebody that loves to watch football, that is perfect. Right.
Yes.
You can watch college, because think about it. In the past, it was, Thursday nights. It really started with Thursday night, right? That was the first night outside of Saturday where you could catch, some college football. So they started with the Thursday night games, and now it's okay. Thursday night, you still have some games that are on Friday night. Now you got Saturday, and then we're talking about, Tuesday night. So you think when the season starts, now I can watch. I got Monday night football. I got Tuesday college football, Thursday night college football, NFL, Friday night college football, Saturday college football, Sunday NFL, then Monday night football. You got a lot of football to watch.
Yeah. So all they say is that they want as much content as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not like I've had. I don't even want to go into that because they're just me bragging again. But in the conversations that I've had, they're not concerned necessarily. And I've heard fans say this, right? Oh my God, what about the attendance in the stadium? The network don't care about that. They worry about the eyes that's watching.
Eyes that's watching.
They're concerned about what's better. What sounds better? Having 10,000 people in the stadium watching the game, or that 10,000 plus 100,000 watching at home.
Right.
Because the money is made off
streaming.
Streaming, and we all know TV is all about advertising dollars.
Yes.
That's true too.
So that's what drives TV. So television. So seeing those games on whether it's streaming, whether you're watching a live channel, whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact that someone is viewing that game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the more you put out there, the more people will turn in and watch.
Because we're junkies.
Because
I mean, look at the tracks in my arm.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Look at the tracks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, man. It's going to be very interesting with these dynamics between these power conferences going forward. Because
now let me help. I'm trying to remember too. Did the Pac-12 have any contract? I mean, I know that
it was God no.
They're up in a few years.
Yeah, because they were the only one who didn't necessarily have a main one. Now, was it with CBS or was it with Fox? I can't remember.
It's Fox.
It was with Fox.
Fox.
Yeah. And then the fact that they're up again in a couple of years, because they were the Mavericks in this whole situation by not necessarily sticking to a particular network.
Right.
And it might be to their detriment, because now they're like kicking the can around, trying to figure out, I guess, where they're going to go. I mean, of course, ESPN will take them in, but they're not necessarily that attractive, and they can't necessarily dictate their price based upon the teams that they have within that conference. They got brands in UCLA, USC, Oregon, but the way that they've been competing in the money-making sports of football and basketball in recent years, they can't necessarily dictate their price.
I mean, if I were the Pac-12, or if I were CBS should have been picking up the phone to the Pac-12 once once a decision was made for Alabama and Oklahoma to move to the SEC. That should have been a first priority for them. I don't know what it's going to look like, but the one of the issues with Pac-12 games is, the time, especially those night games, right?
Pac-12 at the dark.
Right. So it's I mean, you think about it, it's a 7:00 game on the West Coast. It's 9:00 or 10:00 on the East Coast. What type of viewership are you going to have in that time slot?
And see, that's why I was telling, but God, that's what it is. They don't want that dreaded 3:00 spot, East Coast time, which would be noon for them. Because I was thinking, you know what? Why don't they do more noon games? The fear of having to go up against the SEC. Makes sense.
Well, they started doing, I think starting a few years ago, they started doing noon kickoffs Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. Which a lot of teams in the Pac-12 didn't like, because that's 9 a.m.
That's 9 a.m. It is. Yeah. I mean, they're not playing. This not Pee Wee football.
Right. Oh man, it's crazy. But I'll say this, fellas, before we move on to the meat and potatoes of this with the conference. I mentioned earlier it's going to be interesting, the dynamics, because they apparently, those, at least the Power 5 commissioners meet. They talk weekly on a Zoom call. So it's going to be interesting here seeing Bob Bowlesby's poor self talking to who he thought was his boy, Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey's a gangster, man. He is a straight gangster. He sat on the committee with this man from the Big 12, setting up, negotiating the 12-team college football playoff expansion. And he takes his two brands away from him, underneath his nose.
Well, he must be a hell of a poker player.
He's a straight gangster.
Hey,
So,
but
God.
Cedric, you know this quote, being a Southern guy from the great rapper Big Mike. Don't check the pimp, check the hoe. Don't get mad at me because I talked to them and they came over here. They left on their own fruition.
Hey, you better
All
check
I
your
did was,
you better check your girl. That's what.
you know what I'm saying? I'm a player. You know, I said what I said. They made the move. You know, you the one.
I gotta remember that quote. That quote is wow.
That's one of my favorite Big Mike songs. I'm a player. But hey, if you ever get an opportunity to watch, it's one of my favorite clips of all time. It's from the R&B group Guy Aaron Hall. He's doing an interview with the host DJ Vlad, right?
Okay.
And he's talking about how he met his baby's mama, Gloria Velez, former model, well, current model. She's in her early 40s, but she's fine in the mud. He talks about how he first met her, right? And he said that she was with Matt Lion. You know Matt Lion, the dancehall artist that was with BDP, Take It Easy fame, all that. Right. He said she was with her. He was holding her hand. He rolled up and he took him from her. That grip wasn't strong enough. Hey, that's what pimps do, according to him. But I'm paraphrasing.
You paraphrasing a whole lot.
My God, that interview was hilarious, dude.
You paraphrase. You clean it up and paraphrase it real nice.
I tried to make that shiny. Man. But my God, that's exactly what that situation is. Yeah, they're businessmen. They're in the business of making sure that their respective conferences survive, thrive, and continue to succeed.
Sure.
All they did was they probably sent feelers out to some other schools that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
But they don't. Texas and Oklahoma made it known that we want to go, and they did.
That's crazy.
I mean, and you think about you think about, okay, well, what would be the draw for somebody like Oklahoma or Texas? One, just being associated with a conference like that, because it's very, like you said, depending on how things could shake out, this conference could have 5 teams in the playoffs when expansion happens.
I don't know. The reason why I say that, you start getting to that 15, you start talking about teams with 6 or 7 wins. It's going to be difficult for a 7-win team to make it into the playoffs, unless that bottom is going to be super trash in the SEC. Because I'm thinking those schools like Kentucky, who was it? Missouri, Texas Tech, not Texas Tech, but who are those middle schools in the SEC?
Mississippi State,
Ole Miss, those schools.
Kentucky, Missouri,
Tennessee.
Yeah, you're saying that Tennessee, those schools will have to drop and become worse in order for the 5. You know what? I'll say never say never, especially as it pertains to collegiate athletics. Oklahoma and Texas proved that, right? The only reason why I don't think that happens is because I think a lot of those teams within that conference are too strong for that to happen, and I don't know if you're going to get 5 teams in that conference with 8 wins. But if it does, that means the bottom part of that conference is going to be pretty bad, and that means that 4th and 5th team is going to have excellent OOC wins in order for that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, because you got. I'm thinking about the bottom half of the conference. Tennessee, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Kentucky. We can put Missouri down there.
South Carolina, Vanderbilt.
We got
to think about this because we don't talk about these teams often, right?
Right.
So, yeah. I know how it goes. Yeah.
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not brands either.
Right. I mean, when you think about last year, the teams that had, of course, you had Alabama, you had Florida, you had Georgia, you had Texas A&M.
Those are the 4 teams in the
conference. Those were the 4 teams that had over 8 wins. So that. But adding Oklahoma and Texas to the mix, I will say this. Oklahoma, I give a better shot than I do Texas out the gate.
Oh, sure.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, they're well
oh,
coached.
yeah.
The personnel.
The one
Offense.
thing that
Jesus.
is going to be interesting to me
Ethan Riley.
is, and this will be how quickly Oklahoma can adjust and play defense.
Mhm.
Because historically they've been, hey, we're gonna try to light it up.
Right.
Mhm.
And all it takes is, one season, and you got the blueprint for how you defend that.
Yep.
Right.
And then if you can't stop nobody, what good are you?
What good are you? So if you can't, and the SEC has always been that way. Yeah. Lately, teams have been running it up, but you got to play some defense too.
Right.
Because
remember that Rose Bowl, that college ball semifinal, the same year that Alabama beat Georgia in the national title.
Mm-hmm. The year they played, when they played Oklahoma.
Yes. Remember they were down big at halftime, and how did Georgia get back in the game? In addition to playing defense, they ran the football.
Yeah.
They played keep away, and and Oklahoma couldn't stop them.
Well, if you look at when Alabama played the last time Alabama played Oklahoma, and they had what's the little guy's name?
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, yeah. At quarterback. That first half was just classic Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of let up at halftime, but that was just, we're gonna run the football and we're gonna get after you on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
y'all did. Y'all
so
did.
you have to be able to do both of those things. You can't just run it up.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to get after guys on defense. So,
right.
Like I said, I think Oklahoma has a better. I think out the gate, Oklahoma has a better chance. I think Texas, if they do it right in terms of recruiting, they could get the guys on defense to, to be formidable on defense.
Yeah. So let me just ask you this, man. And to me, as far as previewing the conference this year, just like the case of the past few years, what are we doing picking against Alabama? Who's going to beat Alabama? Because I know you guys got a true freshman playing a quarterback, correct? Or is it, no, sophomore.
He's sophomore. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's sophomore.
So from you a fan, so how does this young man look? Yes.
He's looked good. He's looked good. Okay. He played some last year. He's kind of short.
Mm-hmm.
They say he's 6'1", but I'm not buying that. But they got some playmakers too. So I think you see a lot of him trying to get him out of the pocket, rolling out, trying to, because he's not the tallest of quarterbacks.
Sure.
But one thing I say about Saban and his staff, they always find what works for the QB.
Mm.
Tua wasn't that tall of a quarterback either.
Right. 6'1", I think.
And it's always when we're breaking in a new quarterback, the doubters come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same thing they were saying about Mac Jones last year,
I remember that, yeah.
which we all knew what Mac Jones was capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the focus is really going to be, the offensive line really running the football, because they got a running back room this year that's just unreal. Running the football. They got some guys, we did lose, Smitty and Waddle to the NFL draft last year, but there's some guys coming behind them that are, as talented as those guys were when they, I will say, you can't compare them to those guys when they left, when they got drafted, but
right.
As talented as they were when they came into the conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have that. Defense, man, I think defense is probably gonna because they had some growing pains. The beginning of last year, they were struggling a bit. Then we had that game against Ole Miss, that high scoring affair, and then after that they started to come along. But they got some guys on defense. I think the defense is gonna be good. So
Again.
anytime you have defense that can be really good, it's going to help your offense.
Yeah. So we all know Alabama's going to win this conference yet again. So tell me, Cedric, you two chime in too, Dwayne. Who are your dark horses? If you had to pick a dark horse to be the sacrificial lamb to the Crimson Tide, I mean, people are saying Georgia, right? I think Florida's going to take a step back because I think they missed some people on offense and injuries. But who do you think, Cedric?
When I lived in Atlanta, there was a saying. This time they had this saying around this same time every year, and it went something like this: Georgia's supposed to be good this year. They said every single year. Georgia's supposed to be good this year.
You know what, Cedric? That saying somehow makes its way up here to the Mid-Atlantic as well. And all I do is just shake my head and like, prove it to me then.
Yeah. So
prove it to me.
On paper, yes, but do they have the it? Because everybody, I mean, hey, we're all, got to have the same record right now.
Right.
Everybody has the same record at this point in the season. So I don't know. I mean, do they have some pieces there? They do. Have they recruited well? Yeah, they have. But I'm reserving myself for that. Now, I don't know what A&M's quarterback situation is going to look like.
Okay.
But if you look at A&M over the past several years, I mean, I know, they had Kelly Mond, he graduated, he went to the league.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure who his replacement is.
Okay.
Jimbo has done a good job of recruiting. I think Texas A&M has gotten better. I don't know what their quarterback is going to look like. That can determine how good they are this year, in my opinion. So they could potentially be, a team that makes some noise. I think it's going to be a while before we see LSU be anything close to what they were, 2 years ago.
Right. When they were a machine, they were unstoppable 2 years ago.
Right. So they were unstoppable a few years ago. So, I it's going to be a minute for them.
Yeah.
Auburn, I'm still not sure about this head coach and his ability to.
Who's coaching them now?
What's his name? Brian.
Because I know the former coach is in Central Florida now. Coach Malzone is in Central Florida now. They fired him and got hired there. But.
Yeah. And matter of fact, he got tested positive for COVID. So.
Wow.
Which was a.
Let me ask you this, right? Just quickly. You know that everyone loves football, period, right? Especially in the Deep South, where we grew up. But do you think, given COVID rates are really high in the Deep South, are we going to have a finished college football season? By that, I mean weeks 0 through whatever to a full season.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a full season of college football?
Well, I'll say it like this. A lot of the schools are, 100% vaccination rate when it comes to the football team.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
Brian Harsin, that's his name. I think he was at Boise State.
Oh, God. He's in for it. Tag your it, bro.
It's going to be a culture shock for him.
Right.
I think because I think the thing that people don't realize when they play SEC teams is the speed on defense.
Right.
That's just you're not prepared for that.
Not coming from Boise State.
No,
Boise State. They're a good program, but not that.
I mean, you can catch somebody slipping, in a bowl game when they really don't want to be there. You're playing Boise State, or you get them on that blue turf. That gives guys migraines trying to play on that blue turf. I get a headache watching it on
Just
TV.
watching, exactly.
Right. So I think he's going to be in for a little bit of a shock. And prior to, they still had, I mean, they haven't recruited very well the last several years. I put it like that. And Malzone, other than the quarterback they have, who, you know, he's a legacy, they just hadn't, the cupboard wasn't full, isn't full.
Right.
So I think they struggle. I think they struggle a little bit. But I think this year, I definitely think Alabama, I think A&M can make some noise. We'll see how serviceable of QB play they can get. Ole Miss might surprise some people this year, because, you know, Lane Kiffin, you know, he can, you know, his teams can score a lot of points, but, you know, it's what happens on defense.
Yeah, he always fails up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like he got fired in Oakland. That earned him a coaching job in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Left Tennessee after 1 year to coach at SC. Got fired at SC, gets a lifeline from your boy Saban.
Yeah.
Probably that into Florida Atlantic, and now
now he's in Ole Miss.
Yeah,
And he could you know, it wouldn't surprise me a few years from now he's at Ole Miss. I mean, he's at LSU.
Ogeron,
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, Ogeron's on the hot seat too.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That he's LSU's next head coach. That would not surprise me one bit.
Wow. So let me ask you one more thing, man. I'm trying to, I had a question in my mind, but I'm thinking about all this stuff with the SEC. Is it going to be the age of the super conferences? Are we going to see eventually a lead like SEC with the big brand names for big boy football, while the others playing second place? Or better yet, the more possible thing is, are we going to see, given what transpired with the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12, are we going to see the SEC just take the ball and go home and do their own thing, because they got the brands, they got the power? You know what they say, money, power, respect. Like shout out to Lil Kim and Geo Mafia. What's going to eventually fall out after this whole thing?
I
stumped him.
Well, I think it's possible. I really think it's possible for the SEC, now that they have Texas and Oklahoma, to say, you know, I could see, you know, now they're branching off, and I say that I could see them branching off, and I felt that way up until this quote unquote alliance was announced. I don't know. I have some second thoughts about that being a possibility. I've always said that, you know, the big boys, the Power Fives, you know, could break off and potentially, you know, do their own thing, you know, have a, you know, pretty much just say, screw the NCAA, we're going to do our own thing. You know, you guys and do it, run college football like they want to. But now it's the SEC versus, you know, the other three conferences, right?
Right.
I don't know how, since, you know, they consider what the SEC did as volatile, how that changes things, right? How can they now come back to the table and figure out, how do we take this forward? I don't know. Yeah.
It's some weird dynamics, because
it's a very weird dynamic now. You know, this if you'd asked me this last week before this was announced, I'd have said, yeah, I see this happening. But I don't know now. I'm not sure.
Well, go ahead, Dwayne. You about to
I was gonna say the only reason why I see this as being different, and yeah, they see it as being volatile. You know, we all got that one crazy family member, right? But after a while, we have a way of talking them down and getting them to settle around us. However you get a chance to do it. it's capable, right? The thing is the thing that's going to be that calming factor is going to be money, because as much as the SEC wants to be that conference, after a while it's going to get boring, right? And let me tell you when that starts to get boring. Around that first week in December, once you've already beaten everybody within your conference, and you do that a couple of times, then okay, you're the king of your conference. Then what? Everybody wants to see how good they are against the other competition on their level. So if they can't compete against the best team in the Big Ten, the best team in the ACC, the best team in the Pac-12, and let's be real. Well, yeah, let's be real. Even the best of the Pac-12, and let's be real, even whoever's left in the Big 12, right? Because that's the only way that you're going to get this whole thing of them being autonomous from the NCAA possible, is to go ahead and potentially have as many schools in this thing as possible without going over a particular number. I mean, they could do it without the Big 12. Let's be real, they could, but it'd be nice if they did it with them, right? But yeah, the viewership is not going to stay the same if everyone's wondering, well, how good are they really? They didn't play against Ohio State. They didn't play against Clemson. They didn't play against Notre Dame. And if that doesn't continue to happen, that's exactly what fans are going to start to wonder. And people are going to start to tune out after a while, especially if those other conferences are still doing a playoff and they're still capable of having these bowl games, while the SEC is just like, well, we're just going to go ahead and have our own ball and play with it by ourselves.
Any thoughts of that said, or just?
No, I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, that's definitely a valid point. It's what happens when, the other teams, when you made a great move, but what happens if it alienates you from a few other conferences, from being able to schedule games against a few other conferences, right? I mean, because I'm looking at, we obviously talked about scheduling being 5 years out. We already have just looking at the future dates, we have a home and home with Texas. We have a home and home with Wisconsin. We have a home and home with Florida State. I want to say, I thought it was Miami as well, but I can't remember if that got negotiated. But you just think about, over the next several years, home and homes with other schools. We've already signed contracts to have these home and homes with these schools that are in those three conferences. So it could potentially be an issue. It could get sorted out because we all have to come back to the table when it comes to the playoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't think the playoff committees are going to look at it as, okay, well, the SEC did this, so therefore, we're only picking, we're only going to work with the Big 12, Pac-12, and ACC. I don't think it's going to shake out like that. I think it can make things a bit more strained. Sure. But I don't know. I'm leery about what that does overall. 10 years from now when it comes to scheduling.
Sure.
Are they going to try to lock out the SEC from scheduling their teams? They hadn't signed any contracts. It's just, okay, well, we're going to handshake on it and schedule some games. It's all about getting that draw to come to your home and vice versa, right?
Right.
That's why you do a home and home. You want to be able to have that, that payday in terms of, filling those seats.
Sure. Sure.
You want a marquee matchup on your home turf, and and in return you agree to go, to their home and do the same thing. So
right.
I don't know if we've ever played. We've played Florida State in the past, but I can't recall if we played them. When the last time we played them, I know it was a mutual site
in Atlanta.
In Atlanta was the last time we played them.
Yeah.
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
The time before then, I can't either.
And did we play them in Tallahassee? So
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember either. So
yeah. Let me close the podcast on one question I meant to ask you earlier. We were talking about the season. That's just upcoming season. We know Bama's going to win the damn thing this year. So let me ask you this, Cedric. Alabama won't win the SEC title if blank happens.
Good question.
From your mind's eye as a fan and person who's close to it.
I'd say if they don't get good quarterback play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
he's an unknown. He's an unknown. Yeah.
I mean, I think of it as, I'm not saying that he won't be, that's going to be a question mark regardless, right? He could have been a red shirt junior,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And this question would still remain, okay, that's a question mark at.
Right.
Let me take a step back. Nope. Let me rephrase that. Offensive line play. Because we lost a few guys on the offensive line. So especially, our center was a big, big for us last year, played big. I mean, he didn't play in the, he got hurt against Florida, but I think if the offensive line comes together, I think we'll be okay, because if they're playing the way they need to play, then that means that they're going to open up holes for, the running backs we have. Mm-hmm. So, and that means we can lean on that running game,
right?
While we bring this guy along. So,
right,
I'll say offensive line.
Yeah, interesting. But
yeah,
it remains to be seen this year, man, because of all this shit happening in the offseason. It's gonna be interesting, man. I mean, this ain't our father's college football.
Right.
This ain't our freshman year, college years.
Right.
College football.
But you said something a minute ago. You talking about, you said, we'll get this season in because of, all the, we're seeing the increase in cases of COVID.
Right.
And I said that, a lot of the teams, you look at a lot of teams, they're already saying that, they have 100% vaccination rate. I saw something this week from LSU out of Baton Rouge that pretty much said you need to have a negative test within 72 hours or a vaccination card to get into the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen schools starting to do that as well. Yeah.
So I think if schools start to do that, then yeah, the likelihood of the season being played out, I think would be good. People in Alabama, they don't have any sense, so it would take the university standing up, doing something like that. Now, what I will say this, I have seen more vaccinations coming out of Alabama the last, month, 2 months, because of this increase in cases. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah.
But man, it's out there, it's real, and people need to take it serious.
They sure do.
Well said, because I want my college football season.
Yeah.
And if anything will get people's attention down there, if you take away we'll take away the football period with the NFL. If you take football away, if it has to come to that, besides damn people dying, but if it comes down to losing your football, they'll get your attention nothing will.
Oh, well, yeah.
So. No, but I'll say that about that, right? I mean, we all know that even being vaccinated doesn't stop the transmission of COVID. So you can be vaccinated, you still pass it on.
Right.
My thing is this: college football, pro football, we already seen them in effect last year, right?
Right.
The only way they stop is unless players start to come down with it, and you don't have enough players to play.
Correct.
Right.
If it's a fan issue,
if it's a fan issue, it's a different story.
Yeah, if it's a fan issue, all they'll say is, you know what? Y'all stay y'all asses at home. Y'all wilding out. We gonna make this money. Now, it's gonna be a lot or a lot more by having you guys actually in the stadium. And if you guys can't come, if y'all can't control yourselves, and this thing starts to continue to be on the rise, then what we'll end up doing is keeping y'all at home. Y'all watching at home. we'll go ahead and play these games without fans like we did last year.
Right.
And we'll keep this train moving. Now, the
Yeah.
thing is, do you want to be here and watch us play or not?
Right,
So
right.
it's going to be on you guys. But yeah, I don't necessarily see them stopping. If anything, the only way it'll stop is if numbers are way too high in order for them to field the team.
Right.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Or if states start to go back to restrictions in terms of travel.
Right. Because
Yeah,
I was going to say because the SEC and the other Power 5 conferences and other conferences, Group of 5 too, have come up with measures saying if you can't field the team because of COVID, it's not getting made up. It's a forfeit.
Yeah, it's for
That counts like an L.
Yeah.
It's going to count like an L.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're doing it in the NFL too. So again, doesn't get folks' attention, nothing will. And on
obviously it hadn't got Cole Beasley's attention.
We'll talk about that.
But that's another
discussion. I ain't got time for him. But anyway, and Cam Newton as well. But anyway, thank you, man. Thank you, man, for doing this podcast. It was fun. I laughed.
Oh yes, most definitely.
As I promised, I would laugh, and I was entertained as well. And I'm sure the viewers are entertained as well. So speaking of which, thank you for tuning into tonight's podcast. Please check us out here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Check out Dwayne's good work. I mentioned it earlier as well. Yard/HCU Sports. Sleazy Radio every Tuesday now, Facebook Live, herosports.com. And as your boy, subscribe, buy the merch, and please get vaccinated. As we said earlier, take care, be good. We out.
Peace.
Peace.